Hey, we're live. Hi, everybody. My name's Dave Carson from Free the Mind UK. I'm your host this evening, a chat with a therapist. And tonight we have Chris Harrison from Mindset Self-Care Focus Therapy. He's a hypnotherapist who specializes in anxiety, PTSD, and burnout, and lots of other things. I'm really excited to have Chris on the show tonight. But before we bring him on, we're going to play our intro video. Here we go.
Not sure what therapy to choose? Free the Mind UK presents A Chat with a Therapist. Join us live for an up-close informal discussion of the various holistic therapies available, helping you make that important choice.
Chris Harrison.
Evening. I'm good, yourself?
Lovely to have you on, mate. Lovely to have you on tonight.
Thank you for inviting me.
We're going to be talking about hypnosis, hypnotherapy. I think we're going to be talking about burnout, aren't we? PTSD,
Yep.
anxiety, all those sort of things that a lot of people are suffering at the moment. So, Chris, I know you had your own fair share of mental struggles in the past, and hypnosis came into your life. Can you sort of tell us a little bit about your personal struggles and how you came across hypnosis, how it actually came into your life?
Yeah, it's if we go right back, the first time I ever experienced hypnosis was I was about 12, 13. I was at holiday resort in Fuerteventura,
Oh wow!
and there was a bloke on stage, and there was about 6 or 10 people sitting on chairs doing daft things, and then they all went back in the audience and carried on doing daft things and all that. I never really, it wasn't something I looked at and thought, I want to do that. Fast forward, I was 20. Crappy maths. I've got no memory. I was about 23. Yeah, 23. And I started a light haulage company. Always wanted to be a driver all through school. Just wanted to be a driver of some description. I was working in a dead-end job in a factory at the time, and I just thought, enough's enough. I went on the Friday afternoon, went to the bank, told them I want a loan for a sports car. They gave me a 10 grand loan, and I bought a van with it. And I started what was then CJH Deliveries. Not a clue what I was doing. All I wanted to do was drive a van. Didn't have anything to put in the bloody thing. So I had to sort that problem out next. Not long after that, my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer. And then he had treatment for that and whatever else, and they dragged his life out basically for 2 years. And I don't know what your experience is with people with cancer, but so I had to sort of build my business on my own, really. He helped me for a few months, could. And then on the January of 2014, it was a Friday night, and we brought him home to die. And excuse me, still got a bit of a cough. Woke up with it Wednesday, thank God. So we brought him home, and for 15 hours he basically struggled and just. It was the first experience I had of somebody actually dying. I mean, I've had other family members die before, which we'll come on to a bit later. But that was the first experience I had of somebody actually dying in front of me, slowly. And I'm a big believer in euthanasia. I think when your time's up, you can have the choice to be put down, basically. And by the time he came home, he was well past that point. And I never. The thing that stuck with me then was the next morning. When he had died, the nurse came to obviously check and do all I needed to do. But he was put on an old morphine drip, and it had a little button on it. And when she looked at it, she was starting to take down a record of how much morphine he had overnight. And I remember her saying, I must have been knocking button because it was used more than expected. But that, in my mind, triggered, well, I could have pressed that button and ended it all for him quickly. Now suffering, just done. That then triggered 6 years of utter shit in my head. Every day, all I could see was him in that bed, struggling, taking his last breaths, and me doing nothing. And again, we'll go into this more detail later. I know now that image that my brain created was just that. It was bullshit. It was bits of that evening, that night, put together to make this video, if you like, this movie, that did nothing but cause me anger, pain, guilt, shame, suffering for 6 years then. Plus the stress of my business. I literally was delivering for a band of arseholes. That's to put them nicely. Travelling all around the country. I was driving stupid hours. I wasn't having proper breaks. I wasn't eating properly. Completely messed up my health. I'm now diabetic because that's how shit I was eating. And yeah, it just. I mean, I lost one relationship, and then I got with somebody else. We ended up marrying. Well, I was just a miserable, nasty bastard. Why would she want to stay with me? So she went as well. I lost my house, which wasn't an actual choice to get rid of, but that came later. And yeah, 2020, end of 2020, and that was the worst year. That's when everything came to. You know, we had the lockdown, we had
COVID and that, yeah.
We had COVID, and we had, and that was the year my wife left. My uncle, who was like a second dad to me, he died suddenly. And I just give up. My brain just went, enough's enough of that. And then lost my train of thought. Hang on. And then I just happened to visit my auntie at Christmas, and I didn't tell everybody, you know, anyone how I was feeling, because, you know, I was manning up and I'd got everything under control and everything was fine. I was dealing with it, all that bullshit. And yeah, I went and just told her, you know, I was miserable and everything else. Give me this card. Said, this is a hypnotherapist I saw a few years ago. Didn't even know what hypnotherapist was. But I went from there to her daughter's house, my cousin, and they says, oh yeah, you know, you went there and you're brilliant and all. To this day, I don't know why I rang him, but I was there on my cousin's car park thing outside the house. I called him. Didn't even check I had the money in my account. I think it was about 400 or 500 quid. 4-session package I had, I think. And yeah, he said, you know, it was closing up for Christmas, breaking up for Christmas. And he said, yeah, well, I need to see you now. Like, when can you come in? I said, when do you want me? Here's my money. Went for a session, and wow. And you know what? I help people with trauma, and they call me all these wonderful names, and then, you know, and all this and all that. But I still think back to that when I open my eyes in the therapy chair. and I just sort of stared at the wall or the floor for about, must have been 30 seconds, but it felt like an hour. And I just says, "What the fuck have you done?" Because for 6 years I had this image and these feelings that were coming up and they were haunting me, and it was just anger and the things I used to do as well to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden now I can think of this memory, I can stop it, I can start it, I can piss around with it, I can add characters to it,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got no emotion to it.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I help people do the same thing, it still amazes me to this day that experience I had, and I think it will stick with me for as long as I live.
It's interesting, Chris, because I've been lucky in some respects. I've never experienced anything like that. But my first encounter of hypnosis was a hypnosis show in Liverpool. I took my friend John Dan with me, and I knew John really well. He's not with us, God bless him. He got murdered, unfortunately. That's Liverpool for you. But anyway, he came with me, and he ended up going on the stage, and the hands clasp, the induction, and I remember the hypnotist giving him a broom, and I knew he was quite quiet, really quiet guy. And the hypnotist said to him, when I count to 3 and you hear the music playing, you're going to think you're Rod Stewart. And all of a sudden, John is bouncing around that stage with this broom, and I was gobsmacked. I was like, whoa, there's something deaf. I love this. Do you know what I mean? And that was like my entrance into it, if you see what I mean. That's how I got. It's interesting that you also went to a show as well. You said, didn't you?
Yeah. It was, as a 13-year-old, it didn't really stick with me as a thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I'm really pleased that you made that decision that day to go and see the hypnotherapist. I think it's really important that everybody, because a lot of people don't realize what help's available out there. They just don't. They're stuck in this world, aren't they? And they're just punishing themselves every day, and not just themselves, but punishing the people around them as well, because it affects family and everything else, like you said.
Well, when I was at my worst, I always say to people, because on that time when I visited my auntie, I made the decision that was my last Christmas with my family. It was a rational choice that that was it. My family were better off without me. The thing is, when people ask me what I felt, it wasn't suicide to me. Because I'd always say there was something else, there was somebody else in my head, this horrible, evil, nasty bastard that I was keeping away from the people I cared about. Now I was protecting them.
Yeah.
And I was protecting them by, I was coming home from work, I'd hide in the bedroom, I'd play on my computer, so on and so on. And by doing that, nobody had to be around this bastard thing that was in my head, But obviously it doesn't look like to other people. I'm just the miserable sod that no one wants to be around or invite out or anything like that because you're miserable.
Yeah.
Fair enough. It's not up to them to understand my feelings.
It must be a really, really difficult, actually, Chris, just answering that aspect. It must be really difficult situation to be in, to be haunted by this memory, and for it to sort of change the way you interact with people and stuff, and make you feel the way you feel. And I can understand that you don't want to put people through that anymore. And sometimes in that thinking, the only way to solve that is just not to be here anymore. So you can sort of understand why people go to them places.
But as I say, to me, it wasn't suicide; it was murder. I was going to kill this thing that was in my head, but to do that, I knew that I had to take myself out, and I was happy with that. So I had this plan come together. I'd done other things, indirect suicide. I used to walk around the town at night, if a gang of muggers had jumped me and they stabbed me, or I could beat the shit out of them to let go of my anger and all that, But it used to then go somewhere stupid. Like it sounds stupid now, but I think, all right, I've done these muggers in, the police are going to come, armed police, and they'll put me down and all this. You know, it was all ideas to get rid of me or get rid of this thing without me actually having to do it. And that's what indirect suicide is.
Get you away from all the people that you loved because of the way you were, in a sense. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, because obviously I didn't want a loved one to find my body, you know, and that's why I decided I was going to skip work and under a lorry, because then it would have been a car crash. Luckily, never did it, you know. I visited the therapist, and then that complete mindset change I had then was,
Destiny.
I can't even put it into words.
Destiny. I know,
No, yeah.
like you said, you don't know what made you make that phone call, but I'm a firm believer that, you know, a lot of these things are brought into our life, and there's an opportunity to use these things to, you know, to help us, whatever. I don't know, a bit of a strange one.
Yeah.
But and then obviously you wanted to help other people that have been in a similar situation to yourself. So obviously you started studying hypnosis.
Yeah. What a journey that was in itself. Say I did a bit of research. I didn't fell for good marketing because, as you know, there's plenty of shit out there.
There is, yeah.
But it's run by crap therapists but brilliant marketers.
Yeah, they just have to have money.
Yeah, and I fell for that. So signed up this bloody 10-month course, bought into it, you know, all that shit. And I was plodding away, and a few months in, I thought, again, a bit same old, you know. It was there every weekend, once a month, or I mean, like Saturday and Sunday once a month. And it was just drawn out, rough crap, you know, reading a script to each other and having a nice little nap in the chair and all that rubbish.
So who did you come across that really made a difference in your hypnotherapy development?
Well, I liked learning how the brain worked, and I'll give them that. I was good with that, you know, the neuroscience bit. That's how I saw it, and it was a good neuroscience thing. And I'd done the practice with people as we were told to do. And I remember... No, I'll come back to that. I'm missing a step there. So, I then was introduced to YouTube videos of Carl Smith of UK Hypnosis Academy. And of course, he's the exact opposite to what I've been learning. But I've just handed over $3,000, you know. So he's wrong. I have, you know, this is great. This is going to help people. This is what I need. And like everybody else, the brain doesn't want to admit it's wrong, or some, you know, and it's been given this good advice or whatever else, but it doesn't want to accept it because I've just invested into this. But the videos I watched and niggled away until eventually I thought, you know what, this sounds more up my alley.
Very down to earth, very authentic. No airs or graces. It is what it is.
And of course, he comes from the same sort of background as me as well, PTSD, and he helps people with that. So I had that connection, and at the time, I mean, when I'd started to train, I knew that I couldn't be doing the old driving job that I was doing that was literally killing me. So I decided I'm going to sell the house, give the ex-wife her share, and we split up amicably, you know, it was friends, and in fact we were probably closer as friends as we was married.
Yeah, often happens.
I quit my job, sold my house, moved back in with my mum. But it was about 6 months from when somebody said, "I'll have your house," to money in the bank. And I was on a bounce in my arse. I I'd used all my savings, I'd used my mum's savings, I'd maxed out my credit cards. If ever that house fell through, I was shit street, and so was my mum. But I had this mindset that it wasn't going to. If it did, I was going to sort something out.
Yeah.
Didn't. House went through, fine, lovely. Right, let's get
Things
this up
started
and
to fall
running.
into place for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So listening to Cole stuff on YouTube and whatever else, and I was going back and listening. I started tinkering, as you do,
Yeah.
and asking questions. However, this course I was on doesn't like you asking questions. Just follow the process. Don't stray away from the process. And I had a bit of a bust up with them, and that pushed me then. I remember him saying to me, if you don't follow what I say, if you don't follow the process, by January next year, you'll be working in a normal job. I just thought, fuck you, I'll show you.
Absolutely.
So I stayed because I'd already paid, and I thought the brain stuff, I like learning about this, so I'll see it out to the death. But I'd signed up for Cole's online course. I think I got it when I signed up for his in person. I can't remember the date. But I literally just had it on. I think I was playing on my computer at the time because I like computer games and that. I was playing, and I just had it on in the background, listening to it. And I think I learnt more in them few hours of listening to it in the background than I did on all these months of this.
That's exactly what I did. I did exact same thing with Chris. I mean, Carl. Sorry.
Well, I went back then to the people who I was practicing with from this other course, these friends off Facebook and family members and stuff like that. And I said, look, and some of them had been with me since the start, and they'd been bored shitless listening to this script. And I said, can we do a session? And I want to try this new thing, which was emotional detox. Christ, the change, the difference in a session from that shocked me.
Yeah.
And from that day, then I knew that old crap ain't for me. And unfortunately, there's many people out there that do teach crap, and it's not therapists' fault. They're just these people are good marketeers, and they hook you in.
Come across them. It's surprising how many people do experience that. I just want to say, we've got my good friend Thomas on. Let's have a little look. Hello, Thomas. How are you, mate? Thanks for watching. He's saying that. I just want to ask anyone else that's watching, has Chris got an echo coming up? Because Tommy's just mentioned you've got a bit of an echo. Sounds echoes horrible. So Tommy, if you're still watching, is that when Chris talks or is it when I talk? That'd be interesting to know.
I've got echo cancellation. I don't know what it's doing.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's weird. But,
if any tech people are out there that can give me some tips here.
Yeah. The tech people out there. Or if someone can also let us know besides Thomas that there's a bit of echo going on. I don't think there's a lot we can do about it, but you've been watching all this time, so maybe you can put up with it. I don't know. But Chris, I just wanted to, for the benefit of people, that are watching this, that have got no idea about hypnosis. Chris, he's saying it's you, Chris, but don't worry about it. Now you're going to worry about it. You know what it's like. Don't think of a red pig. You're going to think of a red pig. Anyway, it is what it is. That's my favorite motto. So for the benefit of people that are watching this, that have no idea about hypnosis, right? So can you sort of tell us what hypnosis is in your own way?
It's a very unique experience to each individual. And I believe we're all in hypnosis anyway. And we hypnotize ourselves to believe things and feel things and stuff like that. It's my job to change that thought pattern. And all it is concentration and imagination. And it's also about the client allowing me to do what I need to do. Because like everything, you know, if there's any resistance, it won't work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
So
also,
like when
I
you get,
won't push it.
yeah, so when you get a hypnotist and he might say, I want you to find a spot on the wall, that is the focus part. You know, they're getting the individual to focus on something, and then they'll obviously be giving them some suggestions, and that's like the imagination bit mixed in with the focus. Yeah, because I know there's a lot of myths around hypnosis. You know, do you go into a deep sleep? Do you, you know, if anything happens to the hypnotist, what happens if he has a heart attack in the middle of a session? You know, you know, all these different things. Can you sort of just cover a couple of them?
Well, it depends on the context where you ask me. If you come to me in a party and you want to have a go at being hypnotised, you're going to get a completely different explanation as you would as a therapist.
Yeah. So is it safe, Chris? Is it safe?
Yeah. As I say, we're all in hypnosis anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I know. I know. Like when you come out the womb and you're developing child, you're like, wow, this is amazing, you know, and you're like picking everything up and you're looking at everything, and they say, you know, when people say I've never been hypnotized, but like you actually have. Like first 7 years of your life, you were in that theta state, that state of absorption, absorbing everything around you, which is great and also not so great, especially if you've got a shitty experience with a family that don't show you any support and all of that, and obviously that gets absorbed.
I struggle now going to like kids' parties or anywhere where there's parents, because I literally just sit there picking up conversations where parents are fucking their kids up.
Yeah, exactly. They just don't realise, and again, this goes back to a lack of education. You know, I don't know. I was talking to someone today because I got rid of my telly like three years ago. You know, and when I was younger, I used to go to work, get up in the morning, go to work, get up in the morning, put the news on, yeah, and then I'd go to work, come home, and I'd like be wandering around the house doing something. Then I'll put the telly on for the rest of the night, and I'll be watching telly all night till I go to sleep. No creativity going on, nothing. It was just like I don't know. It's like, and I think, you know, this is one of the problems, because if you got more time to spend on yourself rather than watching the telly all night, you might discover some of these things. Do you know what I mean? Because you know yourself, YouTube. There's so much stuff on YouTube out there. So many techniques, free stuff that people can actually go and check out. I mean, you can't beat going to see a therapist because it's very focused, isn't it? And that, you know, the way they work with the client. But there is lots of stuff out there. He's saying it's better now. Tommy, well done, mate. Well done. And if anyone that's what any people that are watching, if you want to ask Chris a question, you know, crack on. We love questions. They're brilliant. Absolutely.
Might not know the answer, but I like questions.
So
that was a big part of it as well.
Yeah.
Because people like to be told what they think they want to hear. But I'll tell people what they need to hear. Because unless we make changes in our life, nothing will change. And that is the biggest part of what I do, is getting people to find what needs changing, and then them having whatever uncomfortable conversation needs to be had.
Yeah.
Whether that's with themselves, partner, boss, whatever, you know, business partner.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Tell us a little bit about burnout then, Chris, because I'm sure people will be, because I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. So you know,
burnout basically is depression, anxiety. It's when your brain has gone, enough's enough. There's too much stress here. It's time for a change.
Mm-hmm.
Now, depression and anxiety are our superpower. We've evolved it because when we were hunter-gatherers, if there was no food or it was too dangerous, we'd get depressed, we'd pack up camp, we'd go somewhere where there was more food and we were safer. when we went out hunting, we'd be all anxious that we might get injured, we might not bring the food back, so on and so on. But when the hunt was successful, we'd come back, tribes eating, and everyone's happy. Anxiety's gone. Happy chemicals, good the mind and body. In the modern world, our brains are still wired up the same, but now we've got different threats. And looking at the bank account, because we've overspent in a month, generates the same anxiety as a wild animal coming towards camp, you know? But it's not really the same, is it?
No.
You know, your knackered bank account might give you a bit of discomfort, but it can be fixed if you have the mindset to fix it.
Yeah.
Or you have the choice of going into absolute panic and nothing gets sorted. Unfortunately, most people are trained to go into panic mode. It's my job to train them to do a different bit and find a solution, be proactive.
Yeah, solution orientation. Solution oriented. That's it. Bit of a mouthful, that. No, absolutely.
But burnout will come when there's too much stress. So, and everything's stress, like first day of school, exams, driving lessons, driving tests, going to parties for the first time, meeting people, and all this goes into a big bucket in the head until eventually it fills up and overflows, and that's when we burn out. And of course, that's when we get depression, anxiety. And the more we ignore it, the more that manifests snowballs, and we do the same patterns as before, the shitty patterns. And it builds up and builds up until eventually your brain goes, well, you've ignored me long enough, have this heart attack, stroke.
It becomes you start to believe it in a sense. So even like all your self-talks all revolves around it. You know, like you'll be telling yourself, fulfilling the belief system. You know, the sort of the false belief system, if you like. It's interesting though, isn't it, that the unconscious mind apparently is always got our best interests at heart. You know, I know
it's got our survival at heart.
Yeah, well, I've heard people say that even someone who murders someone, there's some positive aspect to that from their unconscious that thinks it's going to help that person in some way. Yeah. So it's like I always say if that's correct, obviously, then I find it, it's interesting that it can get a bit mixed up, and you just got to sort of get in there and sort of, I don't know, explain to it, well, actually, there's much healthier ways of dealing with this. Do you know what I mean?
It's funny, so I've been watching a documentary series on YouTube about, and it was old documentaries from prisons from like the 70s and 80s. It was like filmed at the time, so you know. And I think it was in Strange Ways on one of them. I was talking to one inmate in there, and he'd beat the crap out of his girlfriend's 1 or 2 year old kid. And he said, he couldn't get a job, the stress of life was getting on top of him. And he snapped, and he even said that kid was a scapegoat for his issues, his anger, and he took it out on the kid. As soon as he'd done it, he realised he'd messed up, and he handed himself into the police. 80s police, give him a good kicking before taking him to the cells. Got that these days. And then he was in prison, But that's what happens. It builds and builds, and eventually we snap.
There's something to be said for like the prison, the way like when someone does something awful, right? People think they're fucking evil or whatever. But I believe that there's a lot of circumstances behind that, like why they've done that, and if they're really messed up, then obviously they can snap, and do things. And there's a lot of people in the prisons that who are what's the word? because of their unconscious motivation, you know, that in that moment, you know, something just snapped or whatever.
But again, a lot of that can come from what were they conditioned, what was their parents like. If
Exactly, that's what I'm
mum and
talking
dad had
about.
fire off at like that and beat the shit out of them, or violence with us, they're going to grow up to be the same.
We never really get the full history behind what's happened. And when you do often delve into the history of people like that, you'll find that they've, you know, they've had a right shitty life. Not everybody, mind, not everybody. But,
I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some people out there that are just not wired up right, you know, and they either, yeah, and they do need to be locked away. There are some people in prison who thrive in prison because they love that violent atmosphere and they're happy in there.
Yeah, and again,
You know,
even that is all conditioned within them. You know, I believe. You know, it's like you know, like I grew up in Liverpool in a place called Huyton, and at one time they reckon it was one of the most dodgiest council estates in the country. You know, because it was so depressed and it was just a nightmare. I remember it distinctly. And when you grow up in that environment, you know, we are a product of who we associate with, what we read, and what we watch, you know, because we're constantly being conditioned, like you said. So it's like, I remember seeing a 2-year-old kid and he was like, fucking hell, you know, he was acting like a 16-year-old roadman, you know, and he was only like 2. And I remember thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen to that kid? What a shame.
But the thing is, that's not that kid, that's him imitating the world around him, and
exactly that.
and to survive that, he has to grow up to be Billy Big Bollocks, who can handle the violence, who can do what needs to be done better than anybody else to survive, because we are still wired up to be hunter-gatherers.
Yeah, exactly.
But in a civilized world, there's no place for people like that.
No, and it doesn't have to be like that, to be fair. You know, I'd like to think one day, at some point, you know, it doesn't have to be like that.
But again, on the other hand, there's also many other people who grow up on an estate like you just mentioned, who go on to be multimillionaires and own amazing businesses, and they help other kids, you know, and stuff like that.
I think to be fair, that's probably a minority, but it definitely happens. I remember there was a kid in our school who went to Oxford University. I mean, my school was evil. Do you know what I mean? It was like, wow, we went to you went to Oxford. That's like incredible. So yeah, it's absolutely right. And I knew loads of kids that were like really decent human beings. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know. I think personally, I chose to be amongst that sort of mindset. You know, dodgy people. They used to attract like the worst of the worst to me, but I attracted it because, you know, on some level, I thought I was like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I lacked a lot of self-confidence, all those sort of things. Do you know what I mean? But so as you know, as you get older, things happen to you in your life, and if you're lucky, you have a choice. Do you know what I mean?
I'd say everything's a choice. It's what you do with it when it's presented.
So what? Go on. Sorry, Chris. I was just going to ask you. In one of your sessions, right? So first off, do you predominantly work online, or do you work face to face, or is it a combination of both of them?
I go to people's houses within a 25-mile radius of Cannock, Staffordshire, where I live. Anyone else, then I do online. Because of that, I've worked with people all over the world. As long as they can understand English, speak English, we're good. But yeah, I love face-to-face sessions because I get that energy.
I agree with you. Yeah, it's that actual physical energy. That energy. It makes a big difference, I think. Personally, I think so. I mainly work online, but mainly because I haven't really got anywhere to do a face-to-face at the moment. Yeah, but I have been to people's houses, like what you mentioned, which is it's a bit weird because I've been in a few houses where they've got dogs running about, they've got like the sisters and brothers coming in out the room, and it's like, what the fuck, you know? Oh no, no. But these little challenges are good experience.
Yeah. Like I say, most of the time it annoys us more than it does the client, because once they've got that hypnosis and focus, they're away doing whatever it is in their head they're doing. It's us that are dealing with the dog running around and the people coming in and whatever else. In effect, it annoys us. But I've found I get better results going to people's houses or doing it online because I'm the stranger in their environment rather than they're a stranger in my environment. They relax quicker
There's a lot to
and
be
we
said for
come
that.
straight into it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've done a few sessions with kids, like 13, 14, when the parents been there. It's been a bit weird, like, but
I
because
couldn't do
obviously
it.
the kids don't actually open up as much when the parents.
No, I couldn't. I did a few sessions with like 14, 15-year-olds, and obviously the parents have got to be around.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, the parents are the bloody problem.
Yeah.
And they want the kid to not be anxious, but the parents teaching the kid to be anxious. And I'm like, do you want me to do it?
You do a session, and not just kids, adults as well. The partner could be a nightmare or whatever, or the parents. And you do a session with them, and they're going back into the lines then, So like on a typical session for you, what sort of happens, Chris? So people watching, they might want to work with you. So they obviously you either go and see them or they get you online. How does the session progress from there? What you normally do with them?
So my program is really based on a 4-week program or a 4-session program.
Okay.
And the first, so we have a consultation first, see what you want help with and all that. You want to go ahead with it, fine, leave your bank details, off we go.
Yeah.
And then
Do they have to pay up front for all the 4 sessions, or can they pay?
pay up front, or they can split the payment over 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, and so then the first session is a bit of a just having a good clear out, all the years of shit and stress and tension and trauma or whatever else has been built up. We'll just
Is this in a way of an emotional detox? Or?
Yeah. So
I think a great technique. I think that it's a great way to start a session because get rid of all the some of the emotional shit that could hold them back.
Yeah, but it also lets me gauge what the client's like, because from the second session onwards, that's when we can really pinpoint and really work with each bit, and sort what needs sorting. Because issue's never the issue. People come to me with symptoms, excuses, things like that. They don't come to me with the actual issue. Depression, anxiety is a symptom of something. So now we've got to find what that something is. I'm not saying root cause or anything like that. I'm just saying what's the image that's generating that's causing you anxiety or images. What's shit in your life that's causing a depression that needs changing. We find it, then we work on a solution around that barrier. But the first one is really just the first session is just have a big clear out, and really just get people moving forward, get them back into being the best version of themselves, getting the confidence up. And then in between the first and second session, which I always like to do 1 week, 2 weeks, because of how I work, I'm your sort of private therapist, so I'm there. And if I don't hear off you after a few days, I'll catch up with you. But if you do need help in the coaching calls as well, which is part of the program, so you just say, I'm struggling with this, and we'll do it on a video call, work a solution out.
Because that emotional detox, it's a bit like a snow globe, isn't it? When you shake it and everything's all over the place. So I'm guessing, some people might have a few things going on in the week before your next session. So I get that, connecting with them, making sure everything's good and stuff. Good, great idea, definitely.
It's yes, but then other things will come up then. So let's say someone's come to me with PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
So we've done the first, second session. That's now fine. And then they'll be like, you know what, I want to lose a bit of weight and all this. Okay, what's your eating habits like? So then we'll start working on that. Or they'll say, another one, I'm going on holiday next month, but I've got a phobia of flying. I'm like, right, let's have a go at that then. And I like to give people a complete clear bill of mental health.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll do it now. I'll do offer a 2-session package, a 4 and an 8, but the 8 one you do session 1, session 2, and then you can bank the rest of them over a 12-month period.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 months later, someone takes up golf and they want a bit of, because I like to do the performance stuff as well,
Mm-hmm.
and they want a bit of a push on that. We do some sessions on that. So I'm constant there because my big goal for all this is to change people's mindset of mental health. It's not this big scary thing that we should all be fear of. The amount of fear that's there about depression, anxiety, and that causes crap education about it, and a crap belief system. You know, people think that they should be suffering, and it takes years and years. No, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Does if you want it to.
Changing that mindset, obviously. Mindset, self-care. Absolutely.
Well, I did that post the other day, right? The reason why you've got depression and anxiety is because your life's shit.
Mm.
The responses I got from that, right, were weird.
Mm-hmm.
It generates the usual ones. People that go, oh, you know what? My life is shit.
Yeah.
He's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he can't, because the brain doesn't like to be told the truth like that.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is my voice is now being implanted in there.
Mm-hmm.
And as the next few days and weeks happen, that voice is niggling away and the brain's asking itself the right questions.
Mm-hmm.
What shit about my life? I've got no money. So now you can either say, okay, I've got no money, and that's it, dead end. Or, so what can I do to get more money? Yeah. And now what can I do to make some money? Generates a new thought pattern. It now gets you thinking in the future of a new job, a new career, and going to college to learn something, whatever else. But it drags you out that pit of going nowhere, and it gives you a different focus point, and off you go. You know, you can feel motivated and ambition, and that now is a much nicer feeling than being depressed out your tree.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
A lot of my clients are small business owners that have lost their passion, lost their way in their business. And there's one client called me Gordon Ramsay of mental health, because I raised my voice slightly and left the house. And a few hours later, she found me back and she says, I've had therapy for most of my life and nobody's ever spoke to me the way you have. But you're right. The next couple of days later, I went back to reading with her, changed person. And we just got result after result after result.
I'm similar to you in that respect. I tell them how it is, you know. I don't like. I'll never be like a client pleaser. Do you know what I mean? It'll be like, well, like this is it, you know. And people need to hear that sometimes. And like you said, a lot of clients don't get told these things by therapists because they're, I don't know, they're afraid or whatever. I don't know what it is. But.
And again, I find as well, having that sledgehammer approach with people sometimes. I don't know what you feel about this. But like I've had clients where, let's say that they're stressed out because they're helping an elderly relative or something like that. Right? They won't know what that's like, because when I was 17, 18, my granddad had dementia. And that, again, was another part of what, because all trauma, all PTSD, and that is layers of stress and trauma, right?
Absolutely.
Not just one event.
No.
And it started off the guilt of me not helping my mum because she used to work and come back and then look after my granddad and all that. And I did nothing because I'm not a carer, you know. So I hid from it. It was an uncomfortable situation, and I ran, I hid, and I had all that then later on. So someone's living with that, you know, and helping this person, and they got all that stress. And they're like, I don't know what to do, I can't cope, blah, 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 blah. Now, they have thought of a solution, but they feel too bad about saying it, so I'll just come out with, stick him in a home, and then I'll shut up. And after they give me that shock face, because I've vocalised their thought, they'll be like, well, I could, but I don't want to. Okay, so what can we do? And then we come back from that. But until they've had that smack on the head of, it's the same with people when they're depressed, and I'm like, so what do you want out of life? And they're like, don't know. And I'm like, well, if you can do anything, what do you want it to be? And I'm like, be an astronaut. Brilliant, right. So if you was an astronaut, what would that do? Well, I'd be rich, wouldn't I? Now we're getting somewhere. What does rich mean? Financially stable. What does financially stable mean? Happy. It's got nothing to do with being an astronaut. They want to be. So how can you do this? Now we're working on getting them on a path to be financially stable. And it's about cutting through the bullshit, cutting through the excuses. And I'm not scared to hit resistance with my clients. You know, I'm not scared to get to that point where the brain's got fighting me, because I will get through it. We work together. Me therapist, them as a client, develop relationship, and I will get through that with them. I often say to people, and they say it's like standing in front of a dark forest and I can't see the light. Well, I've held the hand of many people and I've been through that forest though, and so come on, you're coming with me now, and I'll grab hold of them and in we go.
I was sort of admired people like yourself that have experienced that darkness, because you know you'll be able to relate in a different way to the client than the way I could, because I've never experienced that as such. Don't get me wrong, my life hasn't been that easy, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that's a good thing, I think. I think, you know, that you can that you've experienced it, so you know what it's all about. It goes a long way.
I look at when people ask me what qualifications I've got and what and all that, because that's a fear response. That's a fight mechanism, you know. And now you're going to try and prove me wrong by saying I'm not qualified, have they? Well, all right, I've got a certificate here. I've got a swimming badge somewhere, you know. I've never had a client sign up to our program who's been asked about my qualifications. What they're interested in is I've been where they are now. I've been through the process, and I'm through the other side. And I come back round, and now I grab people and we go through together. And I stay with them until they're at a place where they can go. Because I tell them it's about knocking the old tower down. Our program, we put a new foundation, a new base in for them to go off and build their whole new skyscraper.
I've always been a firm believer that like getting to like yourself is one of the fundamental things that can really help people move forward, you know. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people, especially with the kids nowadays, you know, the pressures of social media and everything else. You've got to be like this particular type of person. I mean, I had it when I was a kid. There was always the cool kids, and do you know what I mean? And you were like, see how they got on in the world, and it appeared that they were doing really well, and you wanted to be like them. It causes all these conflicts within you. But like personally, Chris, for me, what really changed my life was was liking who I was. And I did that through a mantra. I had a mantra. My mantra was, I'm a beautiful manifestation of existence, because no part of me could deny that, because we're all beautiful manifestations of existence. We're fucking incredible, yeah, underneath all the bullshit. And I used to use that mantra obsessively. I'd be driving to Birmingham in my van and I'd be saying it the whole way there, the whole way back. And eventually, after 6 months, I looked in the mirror one day and I thought, actually, you're all right, Dave. Do you know what I mean? And then it just developed from there, you know.
I think I felt that when I was about my third session in when I was having treatment.
Yeah.
I've always been like had my own sort of fashion going on. I've always been stuck in the 70s and 80s and that sort of thing. I used to drive a Ford Capri,
I saw that,
you know,
mate.
leather jacket on, blue jeans, you know,
Yeah,
count back.
yeah,
But that was me. If I weren't wearing that, I've got my hat on.
yeah,
I was into suits then at the time,
yeah, yeah.
but it was a mask. That
Yeah.
was kind of who I wanted to be, but I wasn't. But all of a sudden, one day, it was me.
Mhm.
And from that day on, I am me. The world needs me,
Yeah.
the same as the world needs everybody else. It's like, you know, it needs you.
Yeah. But
And if people want to,
I'm a firm believer that we're here for a reason. It could be just spontaneity that we just pop out of someone's room. We're just here. But I'm quite a spiritual guy and a bit of a shopper. I'm not like into one particular thing or lots of different things I'm interested in. But for me, with stress and anxiety, I do get stressed and anxiety. I mean, this is all what I've done myself, through self-development, going to like Indian ashrams and meeting different people and reading lots of different books and having those aha moments. Do you know what I mean? Um, I forgot where I was going with it, but never mind. It is what it is.
but a lot of it is that training your brain to think, crap, that's what I do. You know, people tell themselves, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm this, I'm that, you know, and then other people who feel shitty about themselves see somebody who's confident and that, and then it's why are they confident? They're fat and ugly and all this. It's like, shut up, you know.
Yeah,
The
saying
thoughts
that,
we generate the emotions.
exactly, and I have to mention this book now because I love this book. I read it like years ago. It's called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by a Dutch guy called Shad Hounster. One of the best books I've ever read in my life. After reading that book, I was like, fuck, I've been my own worst enemy. I keep telling myself my memory's crap. I keep telling myself that I'm a wanker. Keep telling myself all these things, yeah. And it was only then that it clicked that my brain's like, hang on, guys, he wants to be a wanker. Let's help him become a wanker. Let's help him forget his memory. Let's help him do this. Again, the idea that the unconscious has got your best interest. If you're feeding it this information, it's going to act off it, and it's a great book. Everyone that's watching, you've got to get it.
It's I'll tell you what, going back, I'm glad I'm not a kid in this day and age.
Yeah.
I was a kid like 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
We had quite an even balance of computer games and going outside to play,
Yeah.
But even then, to play on, games with your friends, they had to come to your house or you had to go to their house.
Yeah.
Now, they just sit at home in the
Remote,
room.
innit?
But not only is their friends there, but also the arseholes from school that I don't want to see.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's also grown arseholes out there that pose as kids, and that's stressful for the parents because it's a constant,
It's
battle of
constant worry.
yeah.
I mean, I've got young daughters, a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old. Even though I see them as quite mature for their age and everything, there's still that that exposure You know, I'm a 13-year-old listening to music on the bed, and it's like, fuck this, fuck that, and I'm like, babe, do you know what I mean? But in some respects, you can't hide them from that, because they're gonna come across swearing. Obviously, it's like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Oh man, when they're at school, they probably use more bad
Oh,
language than me and you put together. You know,
absolutely.
let's be realistic. Yeah, we used to.
Yeah. And one of the beautiful things about what we do, in the sense of helping, like, people, we're not just helping them as well. Once they've got that aha thing, and like they're on a road to being a better version of themselves, then they can see these things in their children, and like, they're going to act differently towards their children. They're going to be more mindful of those sort of things. So it has this knock-on effect, doesn't it?
So I do phobia removals as well,
Mm-hmm.
and they're either caused by a traumatic incident, such as, let's take spiders for example. You go into a shed and a load of spiders fall on you. You're going to be scared of spiders. Or it's taught to us. So as a kid, you're on the floor playing, spider comes along, kid's not bothered. Parent comes in, screaming, hollering, picks the kid up, moves. Brain of the kid now goes, well, I've got to react like that now for this thing, whatever that was on the floor. And it sees parent do the same thing again and again and again until they grow up, and their response is spider, panic. My job then is to see spider. No, they're not going to like a spider. I don't make people like these things. What they do is that fear response has gone. So it's see spider, and we need some anxiety there. We need because animal, and in some countries you do need to be very, very wary of them.
Yeah.
But they can say to somebody, a spider there, can you take it out? Or they can put the glass on it, take it out themselves. No problem. Rather than panic on the back of the city and all that irrational shit.
With my daughter, Chris, because like I was sort of aware of this quite a while ago, and like when I was bringing up them as kids, I'd see a spider, I'd be like, oh wow, look at that, it's amazing, and I'd put it in my hand, because I used to have a pet tarantula, so I let them run up my arm. I think they're fascinating. And my daughters would be like, wow, there was no fear response. But it's funny, one of my daughters is absolutely terrified of it. Well, she's not anymore because I did some work with her, but she was terrified of it. And I was like, well, actually, it might be, because we weren't together, and Mum maybe had that fear response or whatever. But they do look a bit weird. They're a bit alien, they've got all the legs. So, it's, but there's definitely something to be said for like what you said, the parent's reaction having a massive effect on the child.
I think the most mind-blowing thing that I do with clients is allergy removals.
Okay, no, this is good, Chris, because it's important that you tell us this different things that you work with. So allergies must be quite interesting, because that's affecting a lot of people at the moment,
and they've all been told by multi-billion-dollar companies to have their tablets to make it better. And it doesn't have to be. Allergy is a mistake of the brain, the same as a phobia, and it can be dealt with the same way.
It can also, as well, like that. I was watching something the other day, and it was a study. It was about lactose intolerant, and they had a group of people, and they gave them something to eat and told them it wasn't it had no lactose in it, but it did, and they weren't affected by it. So it's like the placebo effect in essence. It's quite interesting.
Over the mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I love all that. I love neuroscience as well, like yourself. It sounds like that you're quite interested in that. So I get neuroscience.
I love learning on the
I get it on the feed,
I want to get people that are still spouting old crap, and you know, and they're telling me to check the science out and stuff like that. I'm like, yes, you want to go and check it out yourself. Then come back to me and we'll have this conversation again, shall we?
It's interesting actually because it's all about research. Research is so important, and a lot of people they're just too lazy to research. You know, they really do, and not just about therapy, about everything that's going on around us. You know, government, everything. You know, it's all about research, and the more you research, the more factual things come to light that make you realize that, you know, whatever. I'm digressing, mate.
No, it's fine. It's also when I put a controversial post or a post that goes against the normal belief system of what you say to somebody with depression or anxiety, because you know these people never need to be feared. Just in case you upset them, you can't upset them. You know. Well, you can, because sometimes they need upsetting to realise what the problem is, to make a change, to make their life better. But it's about asking the right questions. And when I say upset, I don't mean, you know, upset as in a make them cry sort of thing, you know, and hurt their feelings. I mean, upset them as in generating emotion that sparks uncomfortable, uncomfort. And then I guide them then to get the answers.
Yeah. You know, I've been known to be a bit of a triggerer, because I'm aware how people respond. I know, like if I trigger them, I often say to them, oh, whoa, hold on, look, this is an opportunity now. It's an opportunity for you now to look at this response. Do you know what I mean? It's all about like recognizing the responses and having the choice to respond differently. You know what I mean?
I've worked with suicidal people.
Yeah.
What people do as a natural response when they get this uncomfortable thing of someone saying, I want to kill myself. If they saw me do what I do to help them, they'd probably have a panic attack. Because the person saying this, because they can't find the words, the labels to say what they're feeling. But people don't know how to ask the right questions. Same with people who self-harm. They're self-harming because the brain doesn't work in words. That's why I believe talking therapy doesn't work. When people self-harm, that feeling, because they can't have a label, so it's that feeling that how they feel better. But that's a bad coping mechanism that can be swapped for a better one.
Exactly, creating healthier options, isn't it?
That's all it is, anxiety. It's a bad coping mechanism that can be swapped for a better one. When I go to a client's house for the very first time, my anxiety levels go through the roof. I always say, when the day that stops, I'll give this up. Because I'm thinking, somebody new, I want to do my best for them, I want to help them, I need my help. And I ramp it up myself, and I bring it right back down. I walk into the house confident as anything. Get the kettle on, you know.
Absolutely. Well, let me just put your, because we're close to wrapping up, Chris, so I just want to just put your website on here so people can find you here. Yeah, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
And if they want a session with you, they can go to your website. I assume that is there a way? Is there like a form that they can fill out and stuff like
no,
that?
Just click the little pop-up that comes up in the corner, and they can contact me on WhatsApp. And then I'll give them the availabilities for booking a consultation. And we'll have that and see where we go from there. And again, with self-care focused therapy, I designed this so I can give the person my 110% of their investment. Only the program's limited to 10 people a month. You know, that's all I can give these people. I'll see 2 clients a day, and I give these people what they want and need for their investment. It's not just have a session, see how you go, next session, next session, next session. I don't believe in that. I believe if you want the help, you're paying me to help you, then that's what you're going to get. Whether that's just having your sessions and not hearing from me, or whether that's me spending a couple of times a week kicking up the arse I work with the individual. I work with the person in front of me.
Brilliant. And people can also find you, because I know you've been on, you've started a little a TikTok channel, and you share some pointers and some advice, and people can find. How can they? What's your channel called on that? I know it's developing, but.
Hang on, because I created all these when I hadn't got a clue what I was doing. But you can find me on.
I tried to find you, to be honest, and I couldn't find you.
But I couldn't find you. YouTube's my thing at the moment. Chris Harrison's Mindset Self-Care Focused Therapy.
Okay, so everyone that's watching, you can.
I never really got into TikTok.
Yeah, it's one of those things, Chris. It takes a bit of time. And, you know, I've gone live on there, want to talk about mental health and stuff, and I've hardly had anyone come on to check it out. They'd rather watch some geezer just staring at a screen doing nothing. Do you know what I mean? It's a strange one.
I think most of the time that is an escape, because people don't want to face the truth.
No, exactly.
So they'll watch hours of shit.
Yeah, hours of shit.
It makes them feel good at the time, rather than
some of the TV all night. A creative killer, and I don't want to get into that too much because that's a whole new conversation. But I just want to say to everyone that tuned in, I want to say thanks for tuning in and listening to Chris's story. And and if you're struggling with PTSD, burnout, anything like that, give Chris a shout. Go on his website, check it out, because it'd be really good. Really good.
If you do want any more information, anything like that, I do a live myself on YouTube and Facebook Wednesday evenings at 7 o'clock, and also the videos I put out there as well. I'm more than happy to have a chat with anybody and give you some pointers or whatever. But if you're interested in my program and you want to get you sorted with that,
absolutely. And everyone that's watching, thanks for tuning in, and thank you, Chris, for
thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me to be on this.
Absolute joy. Next Sunday we've got Sarah Williams, who's going to be talking something completely different. Chris, going to be talking about portals. Yeah. It's going to be really fascinating, I'm sure. So we've got Sarah Williams on next Sunday. There is an event for her if you want to check it out, have a look. And anyone else that is watching this recorded show, if you get a chance to give us a follow and a like, it's always useful and helpful. The idea of this channel is to get the message out there of what's available to people in different types of therapies, whether it be hypnosis, whether it be NLP, or whether it be healing, whatever it is. It's a way of sharing with you, people watching, what is available. So Chris, thanks once again for joining us.
Thank you.
And yeah, I wish you luck, mate. Really do.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you're going to help lots and lots of people in the future.
Well, if they want the help,
you're available. Okay. Well, look, everyone that watching, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next Sunday at 7:30.
Thank you all. Take care.
Woohoo!